Warm welcome, everybody, to today's Lunch and Learn within Drive Sweden. My name is Sophie Wennersten, and I'm the Program Director for Drive Sweden. And beside me is Mats Lundin, responsible for the open calls in Drive Sweden, normally working at Volvo Cars. And we also have Erik Wallgren from Vinnova, the responsible person for Drive Sweden, with us. Erik, you can put on your camera if you wish, so that we can see who you are. And we will try to guide you through this hour that we have ahead of us, focusing on our open call that just was launched this week. And if we take the agenda, we have a tight schedule. We will have an introduction to Drive Sweden and the call. We will have a couple of examples from the Drive Sweden projects from our Open Call 2019. We will have an introduction of Drive Sweden Innovation Cloud and 3 idea pitches that have been sent in advance, and then a Q&A session towards the end. So some housekeeping rules then. It's perfect if you keep your mic and camera off in case you're not speaking. And if you have questions, just write them in the chat and we will try to take them towards the end. And also for your information, we are recording this session. So we'll kick on immediately. Drive Sweden, a strategic innovation program focusing on future digital, automated and shared mobility systems. We are funded by Vinnova, Swedish Energy Agency and Formas. And our vision is that Sweden takes a leading role in creating future mobility systems for people and goods that are sustainable, safe and accessible for all. And our task then is to drive this development towards sustainable mobility by creating, demonstrating efficient, connected and automated transport solutions. We have 2 roles, you could say. We have both the project activities that we are focusing on today, and we have a lot of program activities that I guess that many of you have already participated in. We have a lot of thematic meetings, and we have Drive Sweden Forum and lots of other things. And these activities, of course, provide the ground for our roadmaps and goals. That provides the ground also for the open calls. So the partnership is continuously growing, which of course is because the mobility area needs and demands collaboration to a much larger extent than in the past. And these are actors that are active in Drive Sweden, and I think that you could have a look also on our website for more details about these, because these are also, of course, potential partners in projects that you are elaborating on. We have divided our work in 5 thematic areas, and Mats will also get back to them when describing the call, but they are all components in the work that is necessary in order to transform the mobility system. So it's about transforming business models and totally new roles in the system. It's about public engagement and involvement of the end users. It's about society planning, processes that needs to be adapted, but also we must make sure that the new solutions go hand in hand, of course, with the societal goals. It's about the digital infrastructure, data sharing, and last but not least, policy and regulation development, of course, must also go hand in hand. So these components are the backbone, you could say. And by that, I leave the floor to you, Mats, to dig into today's subject.
Thanks.
Of the call.
Okay, so this call is going to be about creating or contributing to a sustainable, safe and accessible mobility for both people and goods. So it's quite a broad call in that perspective. And if we look at Drive Sweden, the whole purpose of Drive Sweden is to have a broad perspective of what is the future mobility system? How do we create new innovative mobility solutions for the future? When doing that, we also believe that collaboration is a key component in making that happen. We need to make sure that we have collaboration between the different actors in the mobility system. And as I said before, it's about building it both for people and goods. So it's a broad perspective or view on the mobility system. When it comes to this call a little bit more specifically, we say that we focus on the transport policy objectives that is being set by the authorities. And again, coming back to both people and business both in terms of moving people and goods. So both from a personal perspective, private perspective, but also from a business perspective. We also see that key components in building this mobility system is about utilizing connectivity sharing and automation as components. So we see positively on you supporting us building this mobility system with these components. A little bit more specific, when we say that what we focus on or what we want the projects to focus on in this call is two aspects of Drive Sweden. You mentioned before the thematic areas. So we see that at least one of these areas is something that needs to be addressed with the projects that are being proposed. The other one is that we have also started creating a view of what are the potential gaps that we see. Where do we need to make a change, push the development a little bit for the mobility system, and that we have tried to capture in what we call an impact logic. You can find that on the homepage. So if you go in under the homepage, Drive Sweden homepage, you see on one of the places there about Drive Sweden that it says impact logic. Don't focus on all the details, especially the short-term perspective, but rather the long-term perspective. Those goals that are being set for the 27 time horizon. That's where we see that this call is going to contribute or can contribute. Then when it comes to a little bit more concrete examples, we're going to come back to a couple of presentations of previous projects. But if I should just mention some general ideas of what the projects can be about, it's at least these three things. It can be about different types of innovation projects where we actually show or you show new services or business models, for example, and show how that could look like and make that exemplified in reality. It can be test and demonstration projects, a little bit, again, back to the innovation projects, where we actually show it with the real people and assessing the results. What system effects do we have, or do you see when you're building it? And it can also be method and tool projects, something that helps us to make the whole idea, the innovation process more efficient. How do we create and assess the results of these projects? On the homepage, you can see a list of all the previous projects. If you go in under projects on the top part and sort on utlysningsprojekt, call projects, then you can see a list of all the previous projects that we have had or are running as an innovation program. Then couple of practical things on this call. The whole call is going to be 12 million, and you when asking for funding, you can ask for a maximum of 4 million for 22 and 23. So the whole projects that you're making or applying can get 4 million of contribution in total, which means that you, of course, the project can be bigger. It can be at least twice as big. The project time can be at maximum 24 months, but you can start later, you can start quit or finish earlier, but at maximum 24 months, sorry. And then when it comes to the costs of the contribution, can be up to 50% of the cost of the project. Practically, we see that this is about, as I mentioned before, about collaboration between different partners between different parties and stakeholders of the mobility system. So we see that at least 2 parties should be a part of the application, but we see very positively, especially if you have between competitors, between different aspects, between academia, institutes and the commercial partners and authorities. These collaborations, that's where we see that we would like to give funding and see projects. And when it comes to the practical details, you have links to the Vinnova homepage where you can see the rules for financing. It's both in English and Swedish. Okay. When it comes to what we're going to assess or what is going to be assessed by our independent assessors of the projects, it's about feasibility, potential and actors. So potential is how well will this actually contribute making the future mobility system, and what system effects will that be, the solutions you build, when you scale it, how does that actually impact? That's something that we see as very central to assessing. Then feasibility, of course, that it's a realistic plan, something that we believe or it can be believed to actually deliver what you're suggesting. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, a broad consortium with relevant actors, so that you have a broad consortia is much better than having a very narrow, small, with only 2 parties. And also something that we are, of course, looking at also and try to nudge into this program. We are working very actively in the program with that. It's gender equality. So we also want you to think about both when it comes to the project as such, who is actually participating, who is the project leader, who are the participants, but also about the project results, doing an outlook of what is the current solution and gaps when it comes to gender equality, setting goals, and also having a methodology for addressing project results which addresses gender equality, and then, of course, assessing the results in the end. That's something that we also see very positively on when you work actively on that. And then finally, if you have any questions, Sophie is the program director. She is there to answer and help you out with questions. So am I. I'm responsible for the call in general. We are not there to nudge or help you out in all gritty details. But if you have any questions, if you want to, bounce the ideas with someone, we're there to help you out. And then if it comes to any practical details in terms of what can apply for funding for, or how do you go about to do something on the portal and so on, all those practical details, Erik Wallgren on Vinnova can help you out with. And that's what I wanted to say.
Yes, great. Thank you, Mats. And as I said earlier, if you have any questions already, write them down in the chat and we'll try to bring them up. So thank you. And now we will dig into 2 of the existing projects that we have in our portfolio. And the first one will be Stockholm Virtual City. And it will be Johanna Thorn at Universes who will join us and present this project. So warm welcome, Johanna. Are you there?
I am here. Hi.
Perfect. Hi. And I think you can share your slides yourselves. No, you will not. Sorry, missing communication. Okay, we will share the slides and you can just have your camera on and we leave the floor to you.
Thank you so much. All right. Hi, everyone. So my name is Johanna and I work as product manager at Universes, and we are a part of the consortium of Stockholm Virtual City, one of the projects that are in Drive Sweden. So if you look at the next slide, we will see the whole consortium. So as I was mentioning, Universes, that's us. We're a startup within 3D computer vision and machine learning. City of Stockholm, leading city in innovation and digital development and high goals set within the smart city domain. Taxi Stockholm working a lot on sustainability and future-proofing their fleet. And if you follow to the next slide, you will see the goals of the project Stockholm Virtual City. So what we want to do is do a real-time mapping of the traffic signs and monitor them. We want to do a real-time mapping of fleets and geofencing them. Real-time traffic flow and congestion insights, and real-time pedestrian and crowd distribution. So those were like the core goals that we had for our project. So if we continue to the next slide. Here is the timescales of the project, and we've now come into 2/3 of the project, and we have the final third left, and we're going to try and put it all together and deliver on the final goals for the project. And the total budget was of 6.5 million. So if you continue, sorry, yeah, thanks. What we're doing here is that we're using vehicles that are already operating in the city, and in this case, we're using fleet of Taxi Stockholm. They will carry Universe's app, and all of the processing is done by an AI working on the edge, so in the phone. And we're only sending the data that we're actually interested in, for example, the position of the traffic signs and the status of them. And then that's all sent to the cloud for additional processing. For example, if we found 10 signs that are the same, we can then merge them into one. And it's all presented on a web-based dashboard. So if we go to the next slide, we can see just a quick zoom in on the website or in the dashboard. And there you can access all of these different data channels that are collected from the smartphones. You can also do historical analysis and get alerts from new things that are happening in your city in real time. So if we continue to the next slide. So for this project, we're working together, and we can see that we can both provide and get benefits from all the partners. So for example, from Universe's side, we can provide the tech to do this, but we can also gather data and information from the other partners on how to do this in a good way. Stockholm Stad can improve the city management, but they can also advise us on how to do this in a good way that we structure it to really benefit them. Taxi Stockholm can use this data to optimize operations, but they also can provide a fleet to gather data. So if we go to the next slide, please. So for us, the added value of this project is to detect the issues before receiving complaints. We can plan better and engage citizens better using this type of data, prioritize based on facts. You can also respond on up-to-date data, so you don't have old data that you respond to, basically. So all in all, I think this project has been really valuable for us, and being a part of Drive Sweden program is really a super thing. So I recommend it to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Johanna, for this project presentation. It's very interesting, and it's very good also that it's that you have the city and the Taxi Stockholm involved, so that it's clearly working towards those goals that we were saying initially. And if you have questions to Johanna, I think you can. We don't have time to go into details here, but I mean, now you have a name, so don't hesitate to get in touch. So thank you very much, and we'll quickly move into the next example. And by that, we invite Fredrik Larsson from the city of Gothenburg, who will present Eldsjäl, which is about electric self-driving vehicles in the future decarbonized transport system.
Yes.
A warm welcome, Fredrik.
Yes, do you see me and hear me?
Yes, at least.
Yeah, no.
Yes,
yes.
good.
Good.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fredrik Larsson from the city of Gothenburg. I'm going to present the Eldsjäl project. Next slide, please. The purpose of this project is to analyze how self-driving vehicles will affect the transport system and our future city by modeling different scenarios. And we are also going to have dialogue with residents in the city about using self-driving vehicles and also their views on the effect of self-driving vehicles. Self-driving vehicles is coming, so this is a very important product for the city to look into the future. Next slide, please. This project is a collaboration between 5 actors. It's City of Gothenburg, it's Trivector, it's public transport, it's Academy, and it's PTV Group that is supporting us with the software of traffic simulation. And also the people of Gothenburg is a part of this because we are having this dialogue with the people. Next slide, please. And the setup of this project, it all started with a product ID, and after some discussions together in the team, we helped each other during this application period, and it was very good to have each other during this period, during this application period. And we also had a good discussion with Drive Sweden here, so it was very good. And you can also see here to the right, we have different areas, and it was very good in this case that each actor was responsible for an area. And but the team is working together in each area with different inputs and knowledge. So you can say that this is a win-win setup. The project budget is 3 million Swedish crowns, where Drive Sweden is funding with 900 million Swedish crowns. And the project is 50% self-financed. So we are pleased for this opportunity. Yes. In the simulation, we have 2 types of self-driving vehicles. It was ride share and car share. Ride share is where you share the ride with other people, and car share, you share the car with other people, but not the ride. And for each vehicle, it's 5-seated vehicles in the simulation. Next slide, please. And the study is ongoing, but here is some results. Next slide, please. This is a map of a Gothenburg city. You can see the Gothenburg down there. The line is traffic flow, and it's compared to today's situation in Gothenburg. And the green line is lower traffic flow, and the yellow and the red lines are higher traffic flow. And as you can see here, this scenario is, we tested if all private cars change to ride share in this scenario. And as you can see here, we have a reduced traffic on big roads, and we have an increased traffic flow on smaller roads in this scenario. Next slide, please. In this scenario, this is a very extreme scenario, but in this scenario, we tested if all private cars and public transport users are changing to car share instead. And as you can see here, we have a very big increase in traffic volumes. It's much red in these lines compared to today's situation. As you can see, it's important to ride together in the future. Next slide, please. Timeline and status for the project is all scenarios are simulated, and right now we are analyzing the results. And the dialogue with the residents is planned to June and August, and the report is complete in October. Next slide, please. Thank you, and if you have any questions, you can contact me. There is the mail address there. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Fredrik. Very interesting, and a very good example also of how all the actors have their really clear role and how you complement each other, and that nobody really could do it on their own. This is of course very good to describe also in a proposal the roles as you did and also as Johanna did. So thank you very much for that. Very good example. And as Matt said earlier, if you want to look into even more examples, go into our website and see what types of projects there are already ongoing. And as you said, Fredrik, I know that you, Mats, were talking and discussing a lot because it's also important that you are not doing something that was already done. So if you are unsure about that, that's also things that you can discuss with us if we know of similar initiatives or so on that could be built on. So, thanks for that. We'll move on to a presentation about Drive Sweden Innovation Cloud, which is a strategic project within Drive Sweden, and a digital tool that can actually be used in other projects as well. And Stefan Myrberg at Ericsson will explain how it works. So warm welcome, Stefan. And you will share your own slides. There you are.
Yes, thank you, Sophie, and hello, everybody. So my name is Stefan Myrberg. I work for Ericsson, and I'm also quite active in Drive Sweden, doing a lot of things. One of them is to lead the theme area for digital infrastructure together with Hamid at Trafikverket. So I'm going to talk a bit about Drive Sweden Innovation Cloud, what that is, and how we use it in Drive Sweden. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Here we go. Drive Sweden Innovation Cloud is something we invented already when we started Drive Sweden, when we thought that we needed a digital platform to share data within the Drive Sweden projects and in the Drive Sweden community, so that each project and each pilot would not be on its own, so we could build up digital content and digital value along the way of Drive Sweden. So what we actually, the idea from the beginning was, if we look then at mobility services and transport and vehicles in a city, for instance, we have a lot of transport modes like cars, trucks, buses, taxis, that all are trying to find some space on the streets. But now we also get new modes of transport coming into the picture with self-driving vehicles of various kinds, big and small. We get mobility pods, we get shared vehicles, big and small, also the shared bikes, and we will soon see delivery robots on the streets, small ones and the bigger ones. So of course this is well known that it's going to be a challenge for each of these vehicles to find a space in the physical infrastructure, and how is that going to happen? So that's of course a challenge. What we are trying to contribute within Drive Sweden is to at least sort out how is the digital infrastructure going to work. And one thought that we have is that if each vehicle and each transport and everything has a digital representation, like a digital twin, then we have a good platform to start working with to solve this equation. And this is where Drive Sweden Innovation Cloud comes into the picture, which has developed through the latest years, where we then use the platform to connect assets in our projects, and then we share data. And now the goal is to start to automate things and use AI in a larger extent, and by that contribute to automated mobility. But I'm actually going to try to show some live things from Innovation Cloud. So all the Drive Sweden members have access to this. So from the Drive Sweden homepage, you will find a link to Innovation Cloud and information on how it works, etc. But you need to create an account as a Drive Sweden member to get going. But once we are in Innovation Cloud, we will find the marketplace for sharing data, and we'll find a map functionality. So in the marketplace, we find different APIs that Drive Sweden members have created. For instance, we look at this one, traffic accidents, then we get accident data. And we have other things, the e-scooters for instance, that are shared also. Sorry for that. So if we then take a look more graphically in the map part, if it will come, here we go. So then we have gathered more and more data, so it's getting a bit crowded. But if we now select then to see vehicle fleets, other things, and also connectivity. And right now we are looking at Stockholm. So we have now a lot of data here. So for instance, we have most of the e-scooters connected, so we can see where there are e-scooters available. We have accident data, which was the colored data, and a lot of other things that then can be used in different Drive Sweden projects. And one of the ideas is, of course, if you are putting a self-driving vehicle into operation, this vehicle could then be driving in this digital twin and consuming data along the way and trying to predict things. And also, if you're launching a mobility service, then you could share your own data and you can get data from other partners. So in Sweden, we have most of the action and most of the data in Stockholm and also in Gothenburg. We move there. So in Gothenburg, for instance, there is a Drive Sweden project called LIMA, Lindholmen Mobility, where a lot of data is coming from Drive Sweden Innovation Cloud that is then used in the LIMA project. So this way we are looking a bit behind the scenes then. We could also take a look at, let's see, maybe this one. So based on this, there's been an innovation made in Drive Sweden called the Connected Traffic Tower. So we found out quite early that fleets of automated vehicles, they needed to be connected and monitored and even controlled from a central point of view. And the concept of the traffic tower was born, and that was implemented on top of Innovation Cloud. So in this case, we are looking at the pilot that was made in Djurgården in Stockholm. When Telia launched 5G in Stockholm, we had self-driving vehicle going along this route. And now we have kept a digital twin of this, where we also have, for instance, public transport like the city buses included in this. So this is typically how it can look in a Drive Sweden project when you use Innovation Cloud and you invent something on top of that. Some other examples. For instance, this is, I'm zooming now into some of my colleagues in US have put some traffic lights on the map, and actually this is virtual traffic lights. So in the future, the traffic lights might not be on the streets, but they will be in the digital twin instead. And now they put this on Innovation Cloud so everybody can play around with that. Another interesting example is coming from a Drive Sweden member called Viscando. They have a traffic counter that is very innovative and very precise. So there are now a number of these counters up and running in Gothenburg, and they are counting traffic as we speak. So in this case, we see data from today. You can see pedestrians, bicyclists, and cars, etc., and get this statistic to use in your project. So that was some examples I wanted to give from Innovation Cloud, and we are happy to discuss with any members and any projects on how to use this in upcoming projects and to cooperate. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for that introduction. Now we have some sound error. Okay. Yeah, now it's okay. Good. As Stefan said, don't hesitate to get in touch if you need more information on how to use the Innovation Cloud, perhaps in your project idea. So now we have 3 project idea pitches ahead of us. And we will start by giving the floor to Philip Svensson, who is the Global Partnership Manager at One2ID. Are you here with us, Philip?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Welcome. Then we leave the floor to you.
Let's do it. Let's see, I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, I'm the person that's going to speak for you for the next 3 minutes. So my name is Philip Svensson, and I run global operations and partnership at the Swedish company called One2ID. And in regards to Drive Sweden and the strategic innovation program in collaboration with Vinnova, I'd like to first give you a brief introduction to One2ID and then how we could be a partner in this open call. So One2ID, we're a global digital identity solution that offers unique identification. And that is actually to uniquely identify someone for a specific activity. However, inspired by the leading Nordic solutions like Mobile Bank ID, we are using a much more advanced technology that enables cross-industry and cross-border functionality. So with One2ID, it's not banks that have to issue digital identities. And we act like a network orchestrator where we connecting digital identity issuers with various service providers in a global ecosystem. So of course, this creates a lot of use cases. And One2ID is built on blockchain technology and does not store or share any sensitive information. So therefore, One2ID is fully regulatory compliant and scalable to any market and can be used in any market. So the trend that we see in our sector is that you want to capitalize on data and go to key players such as many of yourself and sell that as identification. We instead have adapted a more global business model with the focus on the end user and being an impartial tool for any partners to use. So getting into Drive Sweden and what I'd like to address here today and to this open call, I'd like to first present 2 ways and projects that we are interested in. And the first I'd like to call user-centric ecosystem. And that is to add, so in collaboration we want to the end user can, for instance, be issued a digital identity at guest checkout when, for instance, buying a car remotely. So this digital identity can then be used as a single sign-on solution in an ecosystem where we can include, let's say, charging stations, road assistance, or any other end user touch point in this full customer journey. And the second one I'd like to share today is seamless transportation of goods. So when talking about autonomous freight services or transportation, then One2ID can act as a cross-border bridge between operators, senders, and receivers of goods. So this could secure true and unique identification through this whole process. Lastly, I'm looking for a partner to jointly apply for this Drive Sweden open call. So if you're interested here's my contact information. I'd like to start a dialogue. And lastly, I'd like to thank Drive Sweden and Sophie for the opportunity to present this. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Philip. And we will also provide the slides later on where you everyone can get your contact details. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Mohammed Davari from who is the CEO at InnoBrain. Warm welcome to present your
Hi, thank you
idea.
very much. Thank you very much. So now I just share my screen. Can you see my screen? Is it visible now?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. So yes, InnoBrain. I'm Mohammed, the CEO and co-founder at InnoBrain, a startup company spin-off from KTH. We are a Nordic company providing human monitoring systems. So all of us that are active within the automotive industry, we are sure that we will not see the fully autonomous vehicles on the road until roughly 2050. So what will happen is that we will have actually gradual removal of driver from behind the wheel until we reach this fully autonomous. So it means that up to a higher extent, when we talk about level 1, 2, 3, and 4, we will still have the drivers and operators on the vehicle. So the problem of having the source of actually error is still there. So we'll have these drivers in the control loop. So what important is we need to have a safe and user-accepted transition toward autonomous mobility. So by that, InnoBrain actually came up to like a product and a platform where in terms of teleoperated driving, we are tracking the brain activity of the drivers in real time. And what is important here is, as you heard in the previous slides, we will have control towers in the cities to actually control the fleet, and that with the fleet management service. So, and these control towers will gather data, and based on those data, they will actually manage those fleets. So, and using the InnoBrain platform, by remove tracking of the drivers, or let's say the operators' brain activity, we can extract features that can show us the state of those drivers and operators and see if they are fit for the driving. So with those information, we can predict the safety critical situations, and that can be reported to the control tower, and then accordingly a decision can be made. For instance, providing this, let's say, the operation to other drivers, taking drivers out of the role, or taking the control of the vehicle directly by the control tower. So this is what InnoBrain has, and we have a close collaboration right now with KTH and Integrated Transport Research Lab. So, and we're looking for partners which are working within the driver monitoring system and the autonomous transport system, or control towers for fleet operation, and or if there are like partners who are have facilities for driving vehicle operation simulators, and as well as fleet management services. So the project idea is basically to evaluate the drivers and operators in a real environment, as we currently have the proof of concept and in close collaboration with KTH and ITRL. We could show that the platform is working, but we would like to test it further, gather more data, and make it more reliable. So if you are interested, I would be very happy to have a chat with you. You can just email me, just directly call me. And as said, you will receive my information later on also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Perfect, Mohammed. Good that you presented also what type of partners you are looking for. So actually we have a pitch that came up also in the chat now. So the third one is Alexandra Husley from Rideal. Are you with us, Alexandra?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay, let me share the screen with you. Okay.
Yes, now we can see it.
You can see it full screen?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I would like to present to you our idea of the project for Drive Sweden. We are Rideal. We are a micro-incentive mobility platform. So there's like this pressing need in addressing all these gaps of the mobility ecosystem. And we have recently observed in the exchange with different cities and stakeholders that there is actually a growing initiative that cities or corporates, they start to incentive riders to take a sustainable mode of transport. And you can actually apply these incentives in various different scenarios, as you can see here, to address the gaps of the mobility ecosystem. So the modal shift is achieved through these incentives to actually create more desirability for these sustainable or zero emission transport modes. So, and this is exactly where Ideals comes into the place. So we have developed this platform, this backend platform, rider incentive platform, which enables public transit or employers or communities or any target rider to actually observe, monitor, control, and implement these rider incentive programs in any region, to target any target group. So, as an overview, we actually provide a control panel or a dashboard to these subsidizers to run, to kind of compare or like to centralize all the initiatives together which you want to do in a city or in a given area. And this is exactly what would happen. So we can start, actually, we allow the cities or the organizations to specifically target certain parts of trips, and making with that the whole ecosystem more fluid, more interesting, and especially more sustainable, so that people leave the car behind or a specific transport mode is chosen. So this means that before, where right now the cities are doing incentive programs from one-to-one, we allow that you can do actually over the platform, you can do incentive programs with whoever you want in a given area. And this is exactly what we want to do with the Drive Sweden project. So we would like to roll out the project in a wider area, where we enable various stakeholders to run incentive programs through the platform, and with that start to gather actually data and start to compare which incentive program is more efficient, which is less efficient, and how can we really make sure to incentivize a better mode of transport, and with that actually create more efficiency in the city and reduce all the negative externalities. So what we are looking for in this project right now is for partners like transport service providers or public transit providers who want to be part of the incentive program itself. But also, on the other hand, on the left-hand side, we look for partners who are like cities, big cities, or any stakeholder who is interested in running those incentive programs in an efficient manner. But we also are very interested in research groups who would be willing to actually create a framework for impact assessment in order to allow within the project to make sure, okay, what is really the impact of such incentives to make it a long-lasting project. Yes, that's it. And please, reach out to us if you're intrigued or interested. We're very happy to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. And you're based in Spain, right?
Yes, I'm based in Spain. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have one last presenter, Kenneth Palmestål. Please welcome to introduce your project idea. We can see you, but not yet hear you because you're muted. now we can hear you.
And then I'm more used to Zoom, so I'll find how to share my screen.
Yes, or otherwise you can just describe it or talk.
Yeah. Okay. As Fredrik showed here, it's a big difference between sharing vehicles and sharing rides, where sharing rides actually lead to a lot less traffic in the city. And when I saw the development of electric drive and autonomous drives, I saw one problem: sharing a driverless vehicle with strangers maybe not is attractive enough to attract a lot of the normally single car driving people. So the solution to make sharing rides with strangers safe enough is what I found, to have separate cabins. So I drew up a vehicle with 3 doors on each side, and you enter your own private cabin. And since then, I've seen a lot of investigations and publications about the problems with sharing rides with strangers. And then the last year we saw the problem with infection spreading with the pandemic in public transit. And the solution with a small autonomous vehicle, electric of course, with 6 separate cabins, makes it safe for everyone to share rides. So I think it's very important to have that solution in the future mobility. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Kenneth. And perhaps you can, if you want to show something, you could put a link in the chat so people can access if you want. Yes.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I do that. I will this.
Are there any particular actors that you are looking for? You can write that as well in that case. So thank you. We have a couple of questions actually that have come up. Yes, there we see it.
I'll put up the link there.
We can add it to the material afterwards as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So should we start by inviting you, Erik Wallgren, together with us, and we'll start with the 2 questions that came regarding a little bit more of the formality. Yes, so yes, you can shut down the slide and we can invite Erik. So the first question, hi Erik, the first question, are non-Swedish entities eligible to receive funding?
So if you are going to answer that, no, you have to receive a grant or funding from Vinnova, you have to have your activity and legal entity in Sweden. That's what we have put up as rules in this call. But else, foreign company are welcome to participate in the project on their own cost. So we can take into account all the in-kind work in the project.
And a related question: do you also finance projects outside of Sweden? But it's the same thing. But can you have activities outside of Sweden?
You can have activities outside of Sweden, but we want that, so to say, that the company should be registered in Sweden, so they have all the economic booking made in the company in Sweden.
Mm. Great, thank you. And then perhaps more of a content-wise question, Mats, you could perhaps answer this one. To what extent are projects aiming to introduce and test smart mobility in socio-economic challenging areas? Interesting for this call.
It's nothing that has been explicitly mentioned, but I would like to again come back to the scoping for the call. It's about accessibility, and it's accessibility for all. So from that perspective, it is definitely included, and I would say that we see positive on projects that look at those that work in these or live in these type of areas. And the same thing, it doesn't have to be socioeconomic, but it can also be outside the city centers, something on the rural areas. That's something that we see will start coming, but we also see positively on that. So we don't only have focus on the city or urban areas.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, very important. Then there was actually a question to you, Stefan. Are you still with us? Perhaps it's worthwhile mentioning, since it's a question regarding the Innovation Cloud, how the data has been collected through cameras, or you can elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, that's actually different for different data types. Some data types are collected through specific sensors, like the traffic counters I demonstrated. And some other data is collected through partners who like to share open data. So the accident statistics is coming from road authorities, for instance. So we share data from another database, so to say. Those are the main methods, but in some cases, then Drive Sweden projects have specifically added new sensors. And in other cases, we just share existing data.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Stefan. A question now to you, Eric, I think. Is it possible to act as a subcontractor of a local Swedish firm that is a member of Drive Sweden?
Yes, the subcontractor in Sweden they are eligible to add eligible as a project cost. Yes, that's possible, but it should be motivated and so to say in the application.
So you can be a foreign subcontractor to a local Swedish firm. Mm?
Yes.
Yes. Mm? Great. Yes, if I didn't miss anything, I think that those are the questions that have come so far, and perhaps you are now trying to digest all this information that was provided during this hour. So if you come up with other questions, as we've said, don't hesitate to get in touch also after this meeting. And we will provide the slides at our website. And by that, we will give you just some minutes before entering the next one. And thank you very much for participating, to all the presenters and to you as participants. And we hope for, of course, a lot of interesting project proposals for this Drive Sweden call. So thank you very much, and have a good day and a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.